Good morning. We will begin our commencement ceremony by listening to the Star-Spangled Banner as sung by the Missouri State University Chorale.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated. At Missouri State University, we're very proud of our many outstanding programs. One such program is our music department, where many talented and dedicated students study and train. It is our pleasure to have the Missouri State University Chorale under the direction of Dr. Cameron LaBarre and the university's Jazz Ensemble 2, conducted by Dr. Jason Hosbach, with us this morning. Please join me as we listen to the chorale perform Hold On by Jester Hairston.
Keep your hand on the plow, hold on, hold on. Nora, Nora, let me come in. The doors are fastened and the windows in. Keep your hand on the plow, hold on, hold on. Nora said you done lost your track. You can't plow straight and keep a looking back. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on, hold on. If you want to get to heaven, let me tell you how. Just keep your hand on the gospel plow. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on, hold on. If that plow stays in your hand, led you straight to the promised land. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, sister. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on, hold on. Mary had a golden chain, every link spelled by Jesus' name. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on, hold on. Keep on climbing and don't you tire. Every run goes higher and higher. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on, hold on. Hold on, hold on. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on. Keep your hand on the gospel plow. Keep your hand on the gospel plow. Keep your hand on the gospel plow. And hold on.
Thank you, Dr. LaBarre. Welcome to commencement, everyone. Missouri State University observes 2 commencement periods during the year. The spring commencement is held in mid-May, and the fall commencement occurs at the end of the fall semester in December. This is one of 2 such programs today. Because of the large number of graduates, we are conferring graduate and bachelor's degrees in the McQueary College of Health and Human Services, the Darr College of Agriculture, the Reynolds College of Arts and Letters, and the Colleges of Humanities and Public Affairs, Natural and Applied Sciences, and Interdisciplinary Academic Program majors at this ceremony this morning. We are conferring the graduate and bachelor's degrees to the students in the other colleges later today. Over the course of the ceremonies held today, I'm pleased to announce that we will be awarding 1,521 total credentials. We can clap for that. Of that total, 1,001 are undergraduate degrees and 520 are graduate degrees. The Missouri State University faculty and staff are proud to recognize members of this graduating class who have distinguished themselves by their academic achievement and leadership, and who have earned academic or performance scholarships. Funding for many of these scholarships is made possible by alumni and friends of the university, and we thank them for their support and generosity. Several governors of the university are on the platform today. Members of the Board of Governors are appointed by the governor of the state of Missouri and approved by the state Senate. They serve 6-year terms and carry the responsibilities set forth in statute as the policy-making arm of the institution. We also have a student representative to the Board of Governors. The student representative serves a 2-year term. We are grateful to the governors for the time they take from their schedules and give to the university, and we are pleased that they can join us today and take part in commencement. I will now introduce the platform party. People will stand as their names are called. I would ask that you hold your applause until all are introduced. In the second row, beginning at my right, your left, Ms. Neosha Mackey, Emeritus Dean of Library Services, who will be reading names of graduates. Katie Chandler, a student from Garden City, Kansas, and your senior class president. Dr. Anson Elliott, retired Dean of the Darr College of Agriculture and member of the Board of Governors. Amy Counts, a businesswoman from St. Louis and member of the Board of Governors. Gabriel Gore, a lawyer from St. Louis and member of the Board of Governors. Dr. Michael Hudson, chair of the Missouri State University Faculty Senate. Lynn Parman, a businesswoman from Parkville and member of the Board of Governors. Dr. Tanya Tinsley, associate professor of world languages and cultures, who will be reading names of graduates. In the front row, beginning at my right, your left, Zora Mulligan, University Executive Vice President. Ann Campeter, a philanthropist from Centerton and member of the Board of Governors. Chris Waters, a businessman from Kansas City and member of the Board of Governors. Carol Sylvie, a businesswoman from West Plains and chair of the Board of Governors. United States Senator Roy Blunt, recipient of the university's Bronze Bear Award and our commencement speaker this morning. Dr. John Jasinski, University Provost, and Brent Dunn, Vice President for University Advancement. Please help me acknowledge the platform party. The faculty and administrators have led in the educational process for our graduates. Many of these people are present today and seated to my right and left. And I request that they now stand and that you also recognize them with your applause for their many significant contributions. Good. We are honored to recognize the recipient of this year's Bronze Bear Award. This award recognizes individuals for special support and achievement at the university. The recipients of the Bronze Bear Award are approved by the Board of Governors based on recommendations from me, the Faculty Senate, Staff Senate, Student Government Association, Administrative Council, and others within the university community. Missouri State is proud to present this recognition this morning to United States Senator Roy Blunt. Building on a background as a public servant, university president, and teacher, United States Senator Roy Blunt was elected to the United States Senate in 2010. He serves as chairman of the Senate Republican Policy Committee and as the top Republican of the Senate Rules Committee and the Appropriations Subcommittee on Labor, Health, and Human Services, Education, and Related Agencies, sometimes referred to as Labor H. He also serves on the Senate Commerce, Science, and Transportation Committee and the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. As a leader of the Labor H Appropriations Subcommittee, Senator Blunt has prioritized resources to promote college access, affordability, and completion. Senator Blunt successfully worked to restore year-round Pell Grants and secured 5 consecutive funding increases in the maximum Pell Grant award. He has advocated for significant federal investment in areas that will keep Missouri State University at the forefront of some of our fastest-growing fields. Senator Blunt helped secure funding for the new state-of-the-art Ozarks Health and Life Science Center. All of our science facilities on campus are included within that. The West Plains Campus Hospital Simulation Training Laboratory and the university's Jordan Valley Innovation Center. No one has done more financially for Missouri State University than Senator Roy Blunt. Let me say that again. No single person has done more financially for Missouri State University than U.S. Senator Roy Blunt. The people of Southwest Missouri overwhelmingly elected Senator Blunt 7 times to the United States House of Representatives. Senator Blunt was elected the majority whip earlier in his career than any member of Congress in 8 decades, and he was elected to the Senate leadership during his first year in the Senate. Before serving in Congress, he was a history teacher, a county official, and in 1984 became the first Republican elected as Missouri's Secretary of State in more than 50 years. Senator Blunt has served 4 years as the president of Southwest Baptist University, his alma mater in Bolivar, Missouri, and then Senator Blunt earned a Master in History from our university, Missouri State University. Senator Blunt is a member of the Smithsonian Council for American Art and is a trustee of the State Historical Society of Missouri. Senator Blunt is also a member of the Kennedy Center Board of Trustees. Senator Blunt is married to Abigail Blunt, who is here today, and has 4 children, Matt, Amy, Andy, and Charlie. He also has 6 grandchildren, Davis Mosby, Ben Blunt, Branch Blunt, Eva Mosby, Allison Blunt, and Brooks Blunt. Please help me welcome to the podium U.S. Senator Roy Blunt. Let's get right here.
Well, I'm told the bear weighs 40 pounds. In 26 years in the Congress, I've got lots of awards, but it's the heaviest of all my awards and the latest and deeply appreciated. So, Cliff Smart, thank you for that. And thank you, President Smart, for the great leadership you've shown here at Missouri State University. You know, it was easy. Well, actually, it wasn't easy. My son, Matt, was governor when the university name was changed. And he would say it was the single hardest thing to do with the legislatures, to take one of our regional universities and admit that it had somehow surpassed all of the others in size, in programs, in reputation, and to honor that with the name Missouri State University. But then somebody had to do the work to make it seem that it was exactly the right thing to do. President Smart's done that. The great faculty and staff and administrative team here have done that, and so it's great to be at Missouri State University for graduation and commencement. You know, I've always liked graduation and commencement. They're 2 different things. I don't know when I was growing up. I grew up, Stratford, Missouri had 300 people live there when I grew up there on a small farm at the edge of that little city. And we knew somebody was graduating every year. In fact, we may have known everybody that was graduating every year. So as long as I can remember, we went to graduation. And I think I remember being confused about, well, sometimes they call it graduation, sometimes they call it commencement, but it's actually not confusing at all. Graduation recognizes accomplishment. Commencement recognizes now what you can do with that accomplishment. I like them both, and I am glad to be here as part of that. You know, also, graduation includes the power of example. People will watch the graduates walk across this stage today, and some people will be thinking, well, if they can do that, I could do that. Some people will be thinking, why didn't I do that? But the power of example is an incredibly important thing. You know, if you're the first person to graduate from college in your family, as about 30% of the graduates here are today, if you're a working mom or a working single parent, mom or dad that has gone to school while you were doing that, it's an incredible thing. People have been watching you while you were doing what you're doing that's recognized today. People have been watching, and frankly, in most cases, people have been helping. Maybe it's your parents, maybe it's your spouse, maybe it's the taxpayers of America with a Pell Grant, maybe it's the university itself with work study and other things. People have been watching, people have been helping, and those people, whether they're here today or not, are excited about this day for the graduates. I think the 4 years I was president of Southwest Baptist University, we had 3 graduations a year, so I guess I got 12 commencement speakers, and almost always they would say, what should I talk about? And I said, really, doesn't matter a lot what you talk about. What really matters is how long you talk. And I said, there are no good 30-minute commencement speeches, and there are no bad 12-minute commencement speeches. I'm going to try. Exactly. I'm going to try to stay within the 12 minutes and maybe even count what I've already said within those 12 minutes. Let me just say that you're graduating at a time of unbelievable change. Change is coming quicker, change is bigger, change is going to be more impactful than anybody would have imagined a decade ago or 20 years ago or any time. From the change since you started this program is pretty big, but the changes are there, they're dynamic, they're significant. There's a whole new economy about to emerge, the so-called the geo-economy, the location science economy, autonomous vehicles, trying to gather data all the time, how that impacts agriculture. I had a company in my office last week. I'm pretty involved in that area. We've got a big facility in St. Louis. The National Geospatial Agency is there. And had somebody in the private sector, not the government, talking about agriculture, said, we can measure the moisture in 10 inches of soil, the top 10 inches of soil, anywhere in the world tomorrow. You tell us where you want us to do that, and we'll do it. I had somebody else in a week earlier that said we're looking at all this satellite information, and with poor farmers in Africa, we're often contacting them the way we contact and say, if you're going to plant this crop this year, you need to do it in the next 10 days. Because it'll be 3 weeks after that, the weather's not going to let you plant, and 5 weeks is too late. And by the way, you may need to plant more of this year and less of that, because this is the kind of weather that's going to be coming up, and all that is monitored all the time. Certainly healthcare and the science efforts being recognized here are important today. You know, each of us thought, like 20 years ago, we thought we could maybe map the human genome in 2 decades. We did it in 6 years. But each of us is different in all the rest of us. And what does that mean about health care? Totally dramatic in the change. You know, everybody has, for instance, the ability to fight back any disease that attacks your system. But usually the attack is stronger than your ability to fight back. And so 8 years ago, I went to a research project in Philadelphia where they had 72 people in the project, everybody from a 10-year-old girl to a 70-year-old man, and the project was see if they could change your blood structure so that it has more fighting back capacity for the thing you're fighting back right now. And that particular project was focused on leukemia, and after a year of doing just that, amping up the fighting ability against leukemia in those individuals, this thing called immunotherapy, they said, these people we understand we'll die from something. We don't think any of them now are going to die from leukemia. It totally and dramatically changed the way we look at how we deal with cancer. More likely in very short time, that your healthcare provider is more likely to call you than you are to call them. Some of you right now are wearing watches that would indicate to you blood pressure, pulse rate, all kinds of other things. In some cases, it might already be telling your healthcare provider, but soon will be. And so instead of you calling the doctor's likely, or the doctor's assistant, to call you and say, we see a problem that we don't normally see, that we're watching for. Talk to us about what's happening today with you. Pretty amazing. Synthetic biology. If the last 50 years was driven in many ways by synthetic chemistry, we're about to be driven by synthetic biology. Anything that has a DNA code and a little bit of, and what you need to grow that DNA code on, might be able to build a house on the moon out of ponderosa pine, as long as you've got the DNA code for pine and the ability to grow what you need to do that on the moon. It is a great time. 3D printing. I saw a subdivision the other day that was being 3D printed on site. Full-size houses, 3D printed on site. The world is changing in incredible ways. I'm excited about it. I'm optimistic about it. It's the greatest country in the world with the greatest system of how to compete in the world. What a great time to commence. You know, everything in life has its challenges. It's my last year in the Congress. I've cast 13,000 votes in the Congress, about 12,970 of them absolutely good. The other 30 I might have done differently if I'd have known what I know now, but not everybody's happy with everything you do ever. Life is full of challenges. The Ukrainians today being challenged by tyranny. We were, all of us, challenged by COVID, something that hadn't happened anything like it in 100 years, and we were frankly just guessing. But most of the time, we guessed pretty well and did things nobody had ever done before. A vaccine in 90 days instead of 3 years, the previous record for developing a vaccine. It is a great country. America is a work in progress. We are better than we have been. We are not all we would like to be. You know, the people that wrote the Constitution promised not a perfect union, but a more perfect union. We are working toward that as a nation today. That is the country you graduate into. That is the country you got this great capacity building thing that's being recognized today in. Congratulations.
The Army Reserve Officers Training Corps has been a cooperative partner in MSU's educational program since 1952. Today, 7 students were commissioned as second lieutenants into the United States Army at a ceremony held at Plaster Student Union. We wish them well in their future military careers. The veterans and military members living, working, and receiving their education at Missouri State University are a valued and vital component of our campus community. We recognize and honor their sacrifices and the sacrifices of their families, and we value their life experiences as they broaden the diversity of our faculty, staff, and student body. As such, students graduating from the university who serve, have served, or will be serving after graduation in the United States Armed Forces have been invited to wear a red, white, and blue honor cord at today's ceremony in recognition of their service to our country. I now invite those individuals wearing that honor cord to stand and be recognized. At this time, candidates for all degrees will be presented by Dr. John Jasinski, University Provost. It is understood, of course, that no candidate graduates officially until all grades are recorded and a final examination of the student's record is made. The lawyers make me read that. John?
Today we will be conferring several doctorate degrees. Will the candidates for all doctorate degrees please rise? President Smart, these candidates have completed the requirements for the doctorate degree in their respective fields. It is with great pride that they are presented to you on behalf of the graduate faculty for the conferring of the degree.
By the authority of the state of Missouri vested in the Board of Governors and delegated to me, I now confer upon you the degree of doctorate. You have completed the highest level of graduate study, and I wish you every success as you serve humanity.
Will all the candidates for a doctoral degree please come forward? The marshals will precede you up here. Thank you.
Dr. Julie Masterson, Associate Provost and Dean of the Graduate College, and Dr. Carissa Holscher, Associate Dean of the Graduate College, will hood the candidates. Dr. Tanya Tinsley and Ms. Neosha Mackey will present the students.
Fanta Vong Boone.
Linda Isabel Young.
Kareem Omofolayeme Bosede.
Oluwole Mojid Oki.
Mercy Ubukun Akewande.
Sarah Midagaspi.
Help me congratulate this group of students.
Will the candidates for all master's degrees please rise? President Smart, these candidates have completed all of the requirements for the respective master's degree. The graduate faculty of Missouri State University are pleased to present them to you for the conferring of the degree.
By the authority of the state of Missouri vested in the Board of Governors and delegated to me, I now confer upon you the master's degree and testify that you have surmounted the first level of graduate studies, and I wish you every success as you serve humanity through your accomplishments.
Will all the candidates, except those in the first row, please be seated? And will the candidates for master's degree in the first row please proceed forward, followed by master's candidates in other rows as directed by the marshals.
Dr. Julie Masterson and Dr. Carissa Holscher will again hood the candidates. Dr. Tanya Tinsley and Neosha Mackey will again present the students.
Alyssa Virginia Presley.
Lauren McClanahan.
Meredith Lynn Hassler.
Nathaniel John Wesley.
Brandy R.Y. O-Ring.
Kelly Lynn Patterson.
Sarah Jean Waterman.
Catherine Shannon Monahan.
Rebecca Ann Harris.
Elise Nicole Peters.
Ariana Simone Jeanette Gardner.
Sophia Rose Antonopoulos.
Alyssa Rebecca Doucette.
Hannah Marie Matheny.
Austin Mackenzie Reedy.
Hannah Rose Hassani.
Jacqueline Suzanne Baker.
Emily Louise Tate.
Kira R. Cook.
Jeffrey Morgan Arnold,
Schuler A. Crawford,
David Paul Brackett,
Ellie N. Dubsky,
Bo Palin,
Anthony Ryan Newkirk,
Joy Mia Moore,
Lacey Alexandria Gorenflow,
Luca Fonteas Paes Barreto,
Sri Pajitha Despande,
Nguyen Tue Giang Duong,
Grishmitha Kalim,
Mallory Ruth Harper,
Noam Jikami Kira,
Kylie Kicker,
Melissa Marie Halter,
Madeline Shea Blunier,
Iru Chen,
Haley Nicole Peterson,
Acacia Leanne Boerboom,
Sophia Jolene Thomas,
Achyutha Vedagiri,
Lacey Dawn Godfrey,
Sai Krishna Reddy Ben Reddy,
Emily Michelle Capp,
Rishikesh Ganeshan,
Hannah Renee Cantrell,
Wohit Ankati,
Ashley Lauren McDonald,
Tarun Reddy Barugu,
Logan Nicole Meyer LeGrand,
Dilip Kumar Reddy Bodnam,
Grace Ann Reeves,
Monita Verapudi,
Katie Elizabeth Parsons,
Camilla Zindrin,
Carrie Nicole Walter, Kira Lynn Tribal,
Mark Gordon Havlicek,
Molly Michelle Corte,
Patrick Murphy,
Ellie Murphy,
Hannah K. Garad,
Garrett W. Montgomery,
Nicolette Jerry Legaspi Idos,
Trevor Dean Moore,
Hayden May Shapland,
Melissa Dawn Tolman,
Rachel Gloria Peth,
Mallory Barbara Warren Brothers,
Sarah D. Phillips,
Megan Taylor Beckus,
Taylor Amanda Hyman,
Lauren Elizabeth Robb,
Anna Elizabeth Birnbaum,
Joshua David Loatman,
Sarah E. Dobard,
Leah Michelle Kraft,
Cassidy Sarah McCandless,
Nicole Joanne McGrath,
Nicole Pagansky,
Miranda Ray Ruth,
Rebecca M. Waddell,
Thomas C. Nelson,
Patricia D. McDaniel,
Joshua W. Trammell,
Corey C. Jenkins,
John T. Compton,
Richard Douglas Edwards,
Nathaniel Quiros,
Alexander Freeberger,
Tara Nicole Fayanne Stroman,
Jamaica Anesha Jordan,
Faith E. Fraser,
Hayden R. Strickland,
Rachel A. Kazaniga,
Wenyu Zhao,
Brett Harrison Lair,
Hannah Riley Eads,
Erin Marie Pierce,
Catherine Ann Inman,
Audra B. Koch,
Jonathan Joseph Cohn,
Randy L. Singleton,
Kelly Edward Frank,
Farhan Ishrak,
Jay-Z Up,
Lucas Eager Nietzscher,
Calvin Clifton Earl Anderson,
Guy D. Bo Alexander III,
Autumn Page Gurgin,
Mackenzie Anna Knauth,
Honesty Touche Gant, Adolchimig Sugbatar, Samsunahar Bipasha, Nomin Munkbatar,
Missouri State University and Missouri University of Science and Technology are proud to offer 3 bachelor degree engineering programs on the Missouri State University campus: civil, electrical, and mechanical engineering. These engineering degrees are earned through Missouri University of Science and Technology in cooperation with Missouri State University. Will the candidates for the bachelor's degree in civil, electrical, and mechanical engineering please rise? President Smart, these candidates have completed all the requirements for their respective bachelor's degrees. The faculty of Missouri State University and Missouri University of Science and Technology take great pleasure in presenting them to you for the conferring of the degree.
By the virtue of the authority vested in me by the President and Board of Curators of the University of Missouri, I confer upon you the bachelor degree in your respective fields, together with all rights, honors, and privileges, as well as the obligations and responsibilities pertaining thereto. You can be seated for now, and then we'll come forward with the entire group of bachelor's recipients. Thank you.
Before we confer the remaining bachelor degrees, I would like to note the scholastic accomplishments of several of these students. Will the students wearing the blue stoles please rise? Thank you. Please join me in recognizing these graduates of our university's Honors College. You may be seated. Thank you. Several students are graduating with scholastic honors and are identified by the cordons they are wearing. Students graduating summa cum laude have achieved a grade point average of at least 3.90. Will those students graduating summa cum laude and wearing the gold cord please rise and remain standing? Students graduating magna cum laude have achieved a grade point average between 3.75 and 3.89. Would those students graduating magna cum laude and wearing the silver cord please rise and remain standing? And finally, students graduating cum laude have achieved a grade point average between 3.50 and 3.74. Would those students graduating cum laude and wearing a bronze cord please rise and remain standing? On behalf of all of us at Missouri State University, I wish to congratulate all of you for your impressive scholastic achievements. And now, will all the candidates for Missouri State University bachelor degrees please rise? President Smart, these candidates have completed all of the requirements for the respective bachelor's degrees. The faculty of the Missouri State University take great pleasure in presenting them to you for the conferring of the degree.
By the authority of the state of Missouri vested in the Board of Governors and delegated to me, I now confer upon you the bachelor's degree and wish you the best in your careers.
Will all candidates, except those in the first row, please be seated? And will the candidates for bachelor's degree in the first row please proceed forward, followed by bachelor candidates in other rows as directed by our marshals.
Dr. Tanya Tinsley and Ms. Neosha Mackey will again present the students.
Benjamin Culver.
Legacy Alexandria Tebow Ewing.
Devin R. Osborne.
Kennedy Danae Wilcox.
Alec Lehman Bias.
Ella Beatrice O'Connor.
Maggie Julianne Clark, cum laude.
Emily Joy Hilzebeck Sappington.
Thaddeus Scott Doolin, summa cum laude.
Jessica Lee Laster, cum laude.
Alec Joseph Civilian.
Courtney Nicole Redhage, magna cum laude.
Clayton Ratu Singh.
Brenna Ashton Long.
Michael Charles Payton.
Emily Lynn Grusing, magna cum laude.
Jordan Elizabeth Pope.
Joe Ricky Chin, magna cum laude.
Rachel M. Hasty, cum laude.
Kelsey Brooke West.
Carson Michelle Thomas.
Zachary Keith Clifton Doherty, magna cum laude.
Paige Nicole Waite.
Veronica Dordahl.
Mackenzie Nicole Larson.
Brown Aston Lebish.
Adam Stephen Humphrey.
Joshua Paul Siebert, magna cum laude.
Kyle C. Cheek.
Hannah Grace Baird, magna cum laude.
Addison Paul Sumner.
Chelsea Ray Strain.
Ryan Everett Thompson.
Sarah Brown Stinson.
Diana Michelle Vila.
Ashley Renee Gravitt.
Brittany Lynn Barnett.
William Thomas Boone.
Allison Nicole Hayden, cum laude.
Ethan Alexander Lupo.
Logan T. Uri.
Annetta Jane Rainey.
Kyler John Murphy.
Shelby Blankenship.
Dalton James McQueary Nash.
Tabitha Leanne Henderson.
Tyler Lee Sexton.
Lacey J. Wee.
Thomas Joshua Daly.
Dakota Ray Shoemaker.
Justin Henry Doty.
Anna Schreck.
John Riley Payne.
Kimberly Michelle Perdue.
Leslie Pamela Salas.
Derek A. Myers.
Paige Julianne Myers, cum laude.
Tyler Lamond Harris.
Bailey Noni Hancock.
Emily Jessica Good, cum laude.
Jessica Rochelle Dean in the Honors College.
Kelsey J. Harris.
Rochelle Nicole Vance.
Charlie Ann Crane, cum laude.
Jackson Tyler Clements.
Vivian Yvonne York, cum laude.
Tyler Anthony Nitcher.
Hunter Michael Flake.
John Henry Schmalzbauer, cum laude.
Alyssa Gabrielle Hallgren, cum laude.
Clifford Lawrence Cook.
Emily Diana Owings, magna cum laude.
Cecilia Fisher Cashel, summa cum laude in the Honors College.
Julie Ann Jasper, summa cum laude.
Luke Staten.
Kyle Evan Hulsbus, summa cum laude.
Jacob D. Bradley.
Sarah Lorraine Fiedler, summa cum laude.
Margaret M. Morrissey, magna cum laude.
Caleb Patrick Junak, summa cum laude.
Christopher Warren Hunter.
Kristen Elaine Steinbrook, summa cum laude.
Rebecca Lynn Dudley.
Carmen Rose DePriest, cum laude.
Maya Grace Berry, cum laude.
Rebecca Michelle Wynn, cum laude.
Garrett Dudley.
Taylor J. Pinone, summa cum laude.
Andrew Bartram Cummings.
Blake G. Couric, summa cum laude.
Michaela Louise McChesney, summa cum laude.
Sahasad Tawat Chai Pratham.
Jared Allen Scribner, summa cum laude.
Elena Renee Brown.
Patrick L. Cunningham, magna cum laude.
Sung Won Ray, summa cum laude.
Giovanni Canales Rueda.
Natalie Shea Vandiver.
Sierra J. Stevens.
Ella Marie Klaas, summa cum laude.
Savannah K. Sladen, cum laude in the Honors College.
Olivia Ashton Pace, summa cum laude.
Kendall P. Howard, cum laude.
Miyu Taraki, cum laude.
Hannah Marie O'Neill.
Simone Christine Cunningham.
Haley Noel Reynolds.
Duke An Lay.
Jack L. Johnson.
Cameron David Durrington.
Anna Catherine Stimmick, summa cum laude.
Avery M. Mudd.
Marshall A. Hancock.
Joseph Montana Adkins.
Ethan L. Gambriel, magna cum laude.
Alexa Langolier.
Brooke Marie Williamson, magna cum laude.
Ariane Shazadbat.
Sean Thomas Stanton.
Naya Gale Stokes.
Duong Ling Nong Dong, magna cum laude.
Gianna Marie Ruth Kelly.
Yamilka Nicole Jimenez. Destry
Abigail Abigail Elena Marie Campbell.
Destry Laura Dungan.
Shelby Lynn Matthews.
Carly Michelle Walkenstaller.
Emily Virginia Finn.
Emma Claire Ennis.
Abigail Ann Shagrew.
Taylor Marie Grant.
Chloe Elizabeth Hampton.
Faith Middendorf, cum laude.
Kimberly Alejandra Duker.
Caroline Moselle Olson, magna cum laude.
Joseph Michael Galetti.
Andrew Joseph Stinnett.
Melissa Ann Tate, cum laude.
Isabella Antoinette Strang, cum laude.
Callie B. Hickory, summa cum laude.
Abigail J. Fonstock, cum laude.
Dinah Hotz, cum laude.
Emmy Christie Yukums, magna cum laude.
Alyssa Catherine Plummer, summa cum laude.
Cassidy Leanne Watts, summa cum laude.
Erin Elizabeth Hillary, magna cum laude.
Alexandra Elizabeth Gabler, cum laude.
Aspen Rain White, summa cum laude.
Matt Grace Brown, magna cum laude.
Paige McKenna Ingelagis, cum laude.
Erin Marie Olson.
Caitlin Renee Coles, magna cum laude.
Braden J. Keller.
Nathan Robert Luton.
Megan Elizabeth Weinstein, magna cum laude.
Catherine Marie Roosh, magna cum laude.
Callie Greer Farrar.
Kate M. Weber.
Tajon Hill.
Taylor Falcon.
Gabrielle Sanders Worthington.
Sydney Elise Jones.
Ryan Christopher Everett.
Nasa M. Adams.
Hannah Darlene Newland.
Rachel Danae Weaver.
Cassidy Eden Leidy, summa cum laude.
Nicole Danae Walker.
Haley Morgan Westhoff, magna cum laude.
Phoebe Nicole Hamline.
Kirk Gannon Henry.
Bailey Page Priest.
Emily Nicole Hefferly, magna cum laude.
Alicia Sue Lafoon, summa cum laude.
Grace Elizabeth Scherschel.
Cooper W. Thompson.
Emily Maria Takach, summa cum laude.
Julia R. Heiligenstein.
Josie Blair Simpkins.
Cara L. Luster.
Rachel Teresa Van Zant.
James Davis Ellis Jr., cum laude.
Kimberly Rodriguez.
Kaylin Renee Springfield, summa cum laude.
Todd B. Highfill.
Audrey Christine Koch, summa cum laude.
Shane Edwin Peters.
Charlie Marie Mallory, magna cum laude.
Valerio Norel Todorescu Stavilas, cum laude in the Honors College.
Abigail Marie Griffith, magna cum laude.
Hannah Nicole Steinman.
McKenna L. Donnelly.
Alyssa Casey Earhart.
Madeline Rose Horrell, cum laude.
Sarah Claire Broyles, summa cum laude in the Honors College with distinction in nursing.
Macy Ann Collins, summa cum laude.
Brooke Ann Berger, magna cum laude.
Jessica Sarovi.
Catherine Brown.
Kiana Lee Garner, magna cum laude.
Micah Yvette Leonard.
Darcy Elizabeth Skillington, cum laude.
Tara Mariana Rafaela Mazurek, cum laude.
Reese C. Turnbow, magna cum laude.
Brielle Nicole Beavers, summa cum laude.
Alec Jordan Mueller, magna cum laude.
Marcy Claire Bewley, cum laude.
Carter William Erickson.
Chelsea Cora Cook.
Cameron Hillis Rippey.
Kayla Lynn Eagleberger, cum laude.
Lauren Riley Creek.
Kendall Suzanne Davis, magna cum laude in the Honors College.
Corlina Linnell Hall.
Alexandra M. Gorman, cum laude.
Dalton L. Cronister.
Aaron Coleman, magna cum laude.
Cameron Ann Jacob, summa cum laude.
Ricky Olivia Belden, cum laude.
Lauren Alexis Mercer, cum laude.
Anna M. Berry, cum laude.
Ethan R. Gibson.
Carrie Beltran.
Abigail Rose Irick in the Honors College.
Taylor Morgan Jones.
Kirsten Astorita, cum laude.
Brittany Nicole Turner.
Rebecca Lynn Robertson.
Tanner Vaughn Bui.
Martina Tonay Potter.
Jordan N. Lindsay.
Lana Faye Fellholter, cum laude.
Chesney Rain McVeigh.
Kylie Jade Buccino.
Abigail Ruth Ann LaValle, summa cum laude.
Sydney Rose Sigmund, cum laude.
Ryan Elizabeth Pitts, magna cum laude.
Mackenzie Jade Ramming, cum laude.
Joshua Michael Knight.
Aaron E. Fanning, summa cum laude in the Honors College.
Samuel W. Rehagen.
Sarah A. Farrer, magna cum laude in the Honors College.
Dylan Chase Fisher.
Amber Nicole Hirsch, cum laude.
Justin Dale O'Brien.
Grant Alexander Dennison.
Mason Bradley Sanders.
Margaret Lake Brown.
Cody Allen Weaver, magna cum laude.
Carly Joelle Andrus.
Shandon Joe Gross.
Levi C. Taylor.
Gage Kalen Swafford.
Carter Anthony Nugent.
Taylor Rose Reynolds.
Alex Jean Guzman.
Madison Great Mitzik, cum laude.
Brittany Nicole Isgriggs.
Nicholas David Montgomery.
Sarah N. Gang.
Drew Davis, cum laude.
Jessica Ann Rhodes.
Yulia V. Sidlinskaya.
Jacob C. Vaughn.
Grant Alexander Hedrick.
Cade Nicholas Beeson, magna cum laude.
Nathan McKenzie Kirkpatrick, cum laude.
Skylar McClay Devine.
Hannah Lee Whitaker, cum laude.
Jordan Marie Osmond.
Lauren Ray Manukau Tombuk.
Joanna M. Farrow.
Destiny Faye Harmon.
Lindsay Renee Brandt, cum laude.
Rachel Ann Haug, cum laude.
Catherine Elizabeth Corey, cum laude.
Lauren K. Doughted, magna cum laude.
Claudia Lee Frizella.
Kinsey Ann Stevens.
Mary L. Creed.
Aaron M. McMillan.
Jessica Maya Holstein.
Christian Elise Kirksey.
Daniel Richard Alsis.
Corinna J. Trimble.
Aaron Jennings.
Michaela Jean Beck.
Shane Michael Carlson.
Hannah Eileen Shoup.
Jacob Robert Caro, cum laude in the Honors College.
Stevie Lee Bowen,
Emily Louise Ireland,
Isis C. Fort,
Sydney Marie Cascio,
Morgan Renee Burkett,
Lauren O. Hall, summa cum laude in the Honors College with distinction in psychology.
Catherine Irene Trebbing, magna cum laude,
Brett A. Callahan,
Abby Danielle Ranson, magna cum laude,
Madison Mackenzie Broderick,
Savannah K. Headley, cum laude,
Grace Mackenzie Keltner, cum laude,
Charlotte Alyssa Reed, cum laude,
Coriana Renee Primsey, cum laude,
Alyssa Faith Johnson,
Caden Marie Appleberry, summa cum laude,
Ashley Catherine Lingle, magna cum laude,
Daniel Lawrence Bauer,
Emily Christine Gray, cum laude,
Jacqueline Irene Heisey,
Emily Sadie Fuller, cum laude,
Isabella Rose Gertieser, summa cum laude,
Olivia Rose Taylor, cum laude,
Caitlin Harley,
Cameron Lynn Loden, cum laude in the Honors College,
Audrey Lee Nettles,
Gracie Marie Hewells, cum laude,
Haley Michelle Robbins,
Brandy L. Aucoin,
Grace Marie Benet, magna cum laude,
Carolyn Marion Felt, cum laude,
Mercedes Lynn Spalding,
Gretchen Charlene Graff, cum laude,
Chloe Rianne Hall, magna cum laude in the Honors College,
Julia Rose Carlton, magna cum laude,
Abigail Jolene Walters,
Megan Kathleen Stabile, cum laude,
Nathan David Taylor, magna cum laude,
Natalie Elaine Wolf, cum laude,
Ashley Aaron Jones,
Leah Sue Vokalek, magna cum laude,
Noelle Megan Bess,
Sandra Donna Theobald, magna cum laude,
Michelle Murray, magna cum laude,
Joshua D. Allen,
Carly Marie Byers, cum laude,
Abigail Ann Keeney,
Lacey Catherine Griesmer, magna cum laude,
Mary C. Ferguson,
McKenna Christine Wade, cum laude,
Rebecca Marie Murphy,
Lindsay Renee Wilson,
Ching E. Chin, magna cum laude,
Joffrey Daniel Grisham,
Putikayo Gabricia, cum laude,
David Scott Smith,
Florangel K. Ramirez, cum laude,
Taylor Elise Green,
Marissa Ann Green,
Rachel Kathleen Courtney Fuller,
Alec Kennan Kruger, cum laude,
Hope Alexandria Woodson,
Jack Ian Troyer,
Rachel Lorraine Cox,
Alyssa Danielle Getzmeyer,
Callie Oscar Bengt Hallgren,
Jenna Lydia Sass, summa cum laude,
Eddie Wayne Gator Forgey,
Hunter L. Massey,
Robert Brian Taylor,
Flexer Menacpos Balilas Masado,
Megan Nicole Oak, cum laude,
Tasha Nicole Thomas,
Joshua Cook Smithson,
Hope Brianne Lucas,
Catherine Bailey Davis, cum laude,
Cole Ramsey Bax,
Bryce Logan Hackett, cum laude,
Molly J. Wood,
Olivia Ann Richards, summa cum laude.
Kayla Danielle Swanger.
Rachel Nicole Turner.
Ryan James Raymaker, summa cum laude.
Taylor L. Duke, cum laude.
Margaret Jeanette Tomier.
Leonardo Miguel Martinez.
Peyton Jax Strand.
Catherine John D. Penaloza, summa cum laude.
Jackson Scott Garrett, cum laude.
Olivia G. Novak, cum laude.
Chas Edward Mays, cum laude.
Megan Elizabeth Miller.
Justin Levi Strickland.
Jennifer Silva Cruz.
Natalie Jo Quick Emmerich, magna cum laude.
Haley Renee Gale.
Mia Conchetta Gurley.
Taylor Ann Denise, magna cum laude.
Emily Brooke Flatness, cum laude.
Kelly Coleman.
Mark Bradley Meads, summa cum laude in the Honors College.
John Raymond Marion.
Thomas Alexander Haynes.
Hannah Danielle Beggs.
Jennifer Ann Wilson, cum laude.
Alexandria Page Bradley.
Cody Marie Mitchell.
Catherine D. Jones.
Louis Cataldo.
Madeline I. Haywood.
Shea Alyssa Cutler.
Jenna Morgan Stetson.
Kian Yari, magna cum laude.
Adriana Lilith Wallen, summa cum laude.
Jack Joseph Macaluso.
Michaela Nicole Delmont.
Colby David Duggan.
Hannah Kirby Harding.
Shelby Ann Schaefer.
David Sean Jones.
Eleanor G. Crawford.
Rick Morris.
Mallory Kendall Ackerman, cum laude.
Mitchell William Matthews.
Kevon Jared Lachulis.
Allison Ruth Thompson, cum laude.
Jose de Jesus Pisano.
Amanda Nicole Simmons.
Kobe James Brandt.
Luther A. Harris.
Gabriel Kiana Sewell.
Patrick A. Kinney Smith.
David M. Jensen.
Nathan L. Miller.
Gabrielle Alexis Miller, cum laude.
Wayne M. Williams.
Joshua Dwayne Jarvis.
Grant Shaver.
Dustin Michael Kohler, summa cum laude.
Joseph D. Perry.
Mary Sue Purcell.
Isaac H. Hargrave.
Caitlin Ann Sedgwick.
Ashley Elizabeth Batson.
Allison Rianne Wyrock.
Tyler Philippi.
Casey Noel Wilson, cum laude.
Nat Thompson.
Angela Mariah Duran.
Jennifer Lynn Gale Beam.
Alexander Wright Leonard, magna cum laude.
Keegan Gage Maynard, cum laude.
Ryan William Sylvester.
Hunter Ryan Harris.
John Taylor Higgins.
Evan J. Davis.
Jasmine J. Gray.
Matthew J. Kindheart.
Audrey J. Ogletree.
Nicholas Dean Engel.
Evelyn Page Strumpf, cum laude.
Alexis Reifsteck, cum laude.
Mackenzie Taylor Keller, summa cum laude.
Sarah M. Hopper,
Krista Nicole Stover,
Evan Wesley Dock,
Rihanna T. Wu, magna cum laude.
Jillian C. Dixon,
Griffin Peter Drott Smith, cum laude.
Serena D. Banish,
Michael T. Paul,
Kira Danielle Beck, cum laude.
Mark James Sanders, cum laude.
Sarah E. Smalley,
Kyle Patrick Trznowski,
Callie C. Ortel,
Nathan Sidney Hartzler, cum laude.
Abilene Rose Mosher,
Nathan Michael Cadlick,
Carson Lindsay Julian, magna cum laude.
Jack D. Bauer,
Kiera Michelle Reynolds,
Courtney Faith Burlingame,
Sydney R. Robbins,
Brett Cyrus Spears,
Jillian Hennon Gisicki,
Morgan McDougall, magna cum laude.
Nicholas James Van Buren,
Kayla Turner,
Cameron Perry,
Danielle Rose Kelly, summa cum laude.
Abigail Nicole Bartel,
Christy Lynn Godat,
Caroline Schautit,
Anthony Louis Yeager,
John Carino Baggio,
Amarbold Abadort,
Alyssa Lynn Fays,
Ileantha Curry,
Jaron Delaney Mertens,
Homero Flores Jr., summa cum laude.
Lelia Inia,
Drake Paul Allard,
Dylan Patrick Bolger,
Sarah Rose Davidson, magna cum laude.
Sampath Kumar Vutar,
Juliana Genevieve Sherman,
Venkatesh Pagadala,
Morgan Ann McDoulet, magna cum laude.
Tarkesia L. Blakely,
Kendisha Louise Evans,
Elias Jacob Asensio,
Anduan Minat,
Ravi Teha Pili,
Kwang Do Min Nguyen, magna cum laude.
As graduates, the university hopes you will continue your affiliation with Missouri State as proud and active alumni. To welcome you to the Alumni Association, I would now invite to the podium Missouri State University's Vice President for University Advancement, Brent Dunn.
Well, congratulations and welcome to the club. You join a group of over 140,000 alums that live in all 50 states and over 90 countries around the world. So please keep us up to date on where you are and what you're doing, because chances are pretty good wherever you land, there'll be alumni there that can help you both professionally and personally. After all, your relationship with Missouri State is now a lifelong experience. You know, this semester we recently concluded the Onward Upward campaign, where over 60,000 friends and alums made gifts of over $274 million to help you and the campus. Alumni and friends truly care about you and Missouri State. But please listen to this. You're a student at Missouri State for just a short time in your life. You're an alum of Missouri State for the rest of your entire life. And we have a small gift for you, all the graduates today as you leave, a bear head lapel pin. Now, we ask that you wear it every day for the rest of your entire life. But be proud of your education. Be proud of Missouri State. Now go change the world, onward and upward. Congratulations. Now go get them and go Bears!
Graduates, you have much to be proud of today, but the pride you feel should also extend to others in today's audience. Throughout your university experience, you were supported by parents, spouses, friends, and family members. Let's show your gratitude to them for their support with your applause. The alma mater is a distinctive song indicating your lifelong connection to our university. To conclude the ceremony, please stand with me and sing along with the alma mater as performed by the Missouri State University Chorale. You don't really have to sing along. Cameron?
Sing we praises now to our alma mater, all them are rude and wise. Missouri State we pledge devotion. May you live ever in truth and right. May you live ever in truth and right. Sing we praises now to our alma mater, all them are rude and wise. Missouri State we pledge devotion. May you live ever in truth and right. May you live ever in truth and right. In truth and in truth and right.
Nice job. All right, I'm going to give you some instructions. So the recessional is an important part of the ceremony. So we're going to ask our guests to sit down. And students, you are going to be directed to exit row by row by the marshals following the platform party. Everyone have a fabulous day. Congratulations to all.